Welcome to the Dog Nerd Show, where we geek out over our best friends. I'm Megan.
And I'm Michael, and this is a show about all things dog.
Hey, everybody. We have another exciting episode. Today, we speak with Craig Grossi, who is the author of Craig and Fred, a Marine, a Stray Dog, and How They Rescued Each Other. And Craig has a new book coming out very soon called Second Chances, and we cannot wait to get our hands on that one as well.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait.
So I found out about this book through a book club that was started because everything was virtual and people weren't getting together. So Larissa Wall from Hallmark Channel started a virtual book club called Saved by the Book Club. And we read books about animals. So we've read some really good ones, including Craig and Fred. And, you know, I came to this story because of the dog, but I really fell in love with the people as well. Craig did such a great job with this book.
Oh, I agree. Folks, I sat down and read this book in one day. It's a blazing page turner. You won't want to put it down. It's just incredible. It really is.
Yeah, it's a true story, and you can learn a lot. You can be inspired from it, and we loved it. So let's jump in and meet Craig and Fred. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I am just thrilled because I actually got this one to read a book.
Wait a minute. I read a lot of books, but whatever.
He does read a lot, like on his Kindle and devices, but you know, I was like, okay, you gotta read the book, and
loved it.
And he read it in a day.
Yeah, I didn't put it down. It was great. It was really good. Really good.
Glad to hear that you like the book, and yeah, I mean that's it. It never gets old. Hearing that you're a reader, it sounds like, but you know, for a lot of times we hear from teachers and stuff that will say, you know, I've got kids that I can't get to sit still for 5 seconds, and I throw this book at them, and you know, I have to make sure they're still there because they get sucked into it. And that's something I could have never anticipated. That it's always just incredible to hear. So thank you for that.
Well, it's a great story, and you know, it's so funny that so obviously, you know, I mean, it's called Craig and Fred, a Marine, a Stray Dog, and How They Rescued Each Other. And we see you guys together on the cover, but as I'm reading, I'm like, are they going to make it out? Like,
yeah,
is Fred gonna, like, what's going to happen? And, you know, obviously when you read the book, you know, okay, somehow, but the story is so great how you tell it. And the characters, you did such a good job of just making all of the characters so interesting. And I you know, you could really feel the personalities in the way that you wrote them. So we don't want to give away too much in talking about the book because we want people to pick it up for themselves. But just wow. I mean, if you guys were not touched by the divine to be together and to, you know, be a pair, then I don't know what, because you were destined.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there were so many incredible people in this story and in our lives still, you know, and that was where I really felt the most kind of duty, you know, in terms of the story. If it was just about me and Fred, I think I wouldn't have taken it as seriously. It's always easier to write about, you know, somebody else, but when they're people like the people that I've had in my life, then the weight comes down pretty hard. And I really wanted to make them come alive because they're so important to me and they're really important to this story. So that makes me happy too, to hear that. Thank you. I'm so glad that you can feel the love that I felt and the support that I felt from these incredible people. Cause I never could have pulled off what I pulled off with Fred without them.
It was amazing.
Yeah. The story was almost like a caper. It's like, okay, how do we get this dog out of here? And I'm telling you, if that shipping company hadn't have been there.
Well, don't give away too much now.
You know? Well, I'm not going to, but you know,
there's just so many things fell into place.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, okay, how's this going to work out? And it was like, oh, okay, we can do this and this, and then this will happen. And I'm trying not to give too much away, but it was an incredible story. It was awesome.
Yeah. And it's pretty funny that, you know, even though you can clearly see on the cover Fred and I, and he makes it back, but to still impart a little bit of the anxiety that I felt to the readers.
Yeah.
I apologize for the heart rate, but that's right.
Well, I'm a softie anyway. I mean, we'll be watching TV and I'm crying over something. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, it'll be like a Kool-Aid commercial, and she's over there in tears. I'm like,
like, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
You never know it's going to creep up there and pull your.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I rewound something the other day because I was like, "Look at this man. He just tugs at my heartstrings. I don't know why. He did."
He was a guy grouting a floor. And literally grouting a floor in a bathroom, and she's like, he just pulls at my heartstrings. I'm like, I got about 50 of those guys that work for me.
Yeah, right.
No, yeah, there are people that will just, I'll see them across the street and they'll just tug at my heartstrings and I don't know them. So I'm very empathetic. And so when I'm reading the story, it seriously, I mean, there are some stories where I was like, Fred, no, like that's not what you need to be doing, right? But you did such a great job of conveying that. So well done.
Thank you so much.
So one of my favorite characters, and I kind of could see this guy. It was Top. I'm like, I know that dude. I like, you hear about that guy, and then when you went and visited him, that was later on. I was like, yep, that's a guy. That's the guy, he's a big softy inside, but on the outside. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a saying in the Marines that holds true, for a lot of these guys. And, I like to think for myself, but, no better friend and no worse enemy, of course, but the no better friend part is really there, and that dedication is, just runs deep in these people. And you credit the Marine Corps to a certain extent, but I like to think that Top is Top, no matter where he is in life. If he had been a Marine or not, like that guy, that's him. That the Marine Corps brought out certainly the best of him and put him in situations where he could really shine. But that's just a special human right there, regardless of his his branch or whatever.
Yeah. He was one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
I mean, just so many good stories. And, I think I told you on the book club that we had that, I'm here for the dogs, right? Like, it's all about the dogs for me, but I fell in love with the people. And so, as somebody, I write, fiction, so I get to make up characters. So I don't have to, I don't have to get anything right other than what I feel. So that must be a real challenge to actually write these people in a way that you're, honoring them. And that's got to be pretty heavy.
Yeah, well, yeah, it puts it. I like that. I like that pressure. I like feeling that duty. It motivates me to get it right. But I am envious of and interested in fiction. Because it's sure you're not beholden to a person and what their impression of how you portrayed them, but you do have to build somebody from essentially your own experiences or your own creativity, and that's a pretty incredible thing too. So I'm hats off to you for being able to do that. That's really great.
Oh, well, we'll chat sometime. You can do it too. If I can do it, you can do it.
I'd like to do that someday.
Yeah.
So how is Fred adjusting? Because Fred was a dog that was in the desert. How's he adjusting to the woods of Maine?
Oh man, what's funny? I was just looking at him this morning, and I just started. Every time I look at him, it feeds my soul. But then today I just found another kind of funny thing about him that I've noticed. He's sleeping very comfortably on the floor, so I don't want to wake him up. But
no, don't.
on the couch, I'll show you he didn't used to have this when we lived in DC and we lived in the South. He's getting like the fur is growing through his pads and his paws. And I think, we've been in Maine like 3-ish, almost 4 years now. And I think he's just that adaptable to his environment. And every winter he's always gotten like a winter top coat that comes in when the temperature starts to drop. But every winter we've been in Maine, it gets a little thicker and a little darker. And you can tell when it's coming in because he gets these little freckles all over him. and those go away in the summer when it's hot. That'll all be gone. He'll just be mostly white with these big black or these big brown patches. But then in the colder months, this top coat comes in. So as far as like physically, it's just amazing to see how his body has adapted to our new environment. And then and everything else. I mean, he just loves it up here because he can just go all day. Even in the summer when it's hot for Maine, that doesn't slow him down at all. Whereas, when we lived in DC, those summer days can, they'll melt the sidewalk. So we couldn't be outside all day, but up here, when it's cold or hot, he just wants to be outside.
Now, does it get pretty cold in Afghanistan in the winter months and in the evenings?
Yeah, it does. And I don't really know if he ever had that though, because if my estimates are, correct, and, just based on how old he was and the fact that he had all of his adult teeth when I found him, that would put him, at, I don't know, maybe like at the oldest 10 months. So, and I found him in October of 2010. So maybe he had like that, the end of winter there.
Yeah.
He was a little pup, but he didn't really have to survive like a whole kind of cold. It gets real cold at night and it's real rainy in the Sangin Valley where I found him. There were days where it made me appreciate all the more like the veterans who served in the Pacific Theater and in Vietnam. I mean, just that had to survive in the jungle, because we got a little taste of that in Afghanistan in around this time in February and March, when it was the kind of the rainy season and you're living in mud. And when it rains, when you're living in things that are made of dirt and it rains, everything just turns to mud.
Mm-hmm.
Just that kind of feeling where it goes for weeks and you just can't get dry. You just kind of get used to always being kind of damp. But meanwhile, when I was going through that, Fred was home with my dad. So
yeah,
he's just chilling back in the suburbs. Like, okay, this is good. Right. So one thing that I did not know, and it makes sense. I mean, you hate to hear it, but getting caught with a dog is not what you want to have happen in the military, because they don't want you guys to be put at risk by having a dog. And then, what do you do with a dog? I mean, because people will get to know Fred, but if it were one of our dogs, they would have totally blown our cover. And, so what you did was against the rules, and it could have meant that Fred was euthanized, right?
Yeah, definitely. And since then, since 2010, I've heard from people, with firsthand experience that, they've relaxed. The rules are still there, but there are more ways to get around them now. There's nonprofits like Puppy Rescue Mission, which we advocate for a lot, and they weren't around to the degree that they are now. They didn't have the networks set up for everything that they do now. Back in 2010, when I found Fred, and so that's why I had to jump through so many hoops. Where now you have Puppy Rescue Mission, and there's some other ones, but Puppy Rescue Mission, is the one that I really worked most closely with and advocated for. And so if you're in a situation like mine, you can get in touch with them, and they have volunteers all over the world, and they will actually take the dog and take ownership of the dog, so it's out of your hands.
Okay.
So, your chain of command can't get upset with you, and then they have a network of volunteers all over the world who will help just kind of ferry the dog home or to wherever you're going next. The rules are there for a reason. It is a health concern. It is kind of a safety concern. You don't want people getting distracted when they're doing the kind of work that we were. But there's an exception. And there's always the benefit. Kind of in my opinion, it often outweighs the risks when you talk about morale and you talk about just the connection that you have with dogs when you're so far from home. It's an incredible thing.
Yeah, it really seemed like everybody benefited so much from having Fred around.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we did. We still do.
So how bad is the stray dog problem there? Is it a problem? Is it?
Yeah, I think I think it depends on who you ask. I mean, it wasn't a problem for us. I think where it becomes a problem is in the larger cities, like in Kabul, which I never went. I never really went to Kabul. I saw the airport. That was about it. Just and you know, some of the larger bases, um, you know, where you have just a lot of food and a lot of people and a lot of, you know, just a high kind of traffic environment. I feel like maybe they could be more of a pest there. But Sangin and Helmand province at large is just very rural, very wide open. You know, the people are unfortunately just incredibly poor, and poor in terms of just their possessions and their resources, but not of their spirit. They're some of the most incredible people I've ever met. But you know, they have so little that I think the dogs aren't doing very well either. You
Yeah.
know, they're living off of the scraps of people who don't have enough themselves. So
Right.
I think when you see a problem, I think that I hear a lot of bad things about there's in Kuwait and in Iraq. You know, I think they have more of a problem with the dogs, just because there's so much of a higher density of people.
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
dogs kind of flock to that, and then they have puppies, and it just kind of builds and builds and builds, and they become kind of a pest. So that's unfortunate. And
Yeah.
puppy rescue mission and there's lots of nonprofits that are trying to you know, neuter and spade and kind of control that.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got enough other problems that that's probably not their priority in some cases.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's fascinating though. I talked to one volunteer from puppy rescue mission, and um, you know, her argument, because I think that's one of the things that they hear about is like, oh, it's low on the priority list. It's low on the priority list, and it's easy to write off. But you really think about it, and this is how she kind of advocates for her work with animals, dogs, and she actually works on behalf of donkeys too in Afghanistan, because the donkeys are working animals, and the people don't understand, you know, because they haven't been educated how to take care of the donkeys, so they just work them into the ground,
Well,
Mm.
get more donkeys. But if they can be taught how to take care of the donkey, and they and like they're interested in learning, they actually are, she says, then it's better for the people and it's better for the donkeys.
mhm.
And the same can be said for dogs. Like if you just have a little bit of knowledge about, you know, hey, if we vaccinate the dogs, or if we take care of the dogs, if we spay and neuter the dogs, like you can actually have a population of dogs that's beneficial, you know, to your town or to your, you know, your village or whatever. And so they do go hand in hand. It's just gonna be difficult to get that through to
Yeah.
the decision makers.
Well, I mean, we have that problem here too, you know? I mean, spaying and neutering, if we could just do that, wow, we could save a lot of lives.
Yeah.
So,
Carry
Yeah.
over there and Bob Barker and just have a, you know, have a little
Yeah.
talk with everybody.
I
Yeah.
know, we all grew up with that, but it's like, man, that man knew what he was talking about, and if we would have just listened.
Yeah, yeah,
So so obviously this book is your first book and you have a kids version of it as well.
yeah.
And it's just an amazing story. It's amazing characters. I think it's really inspiring for anyone. I mean, I think everyone can get something out of it. Um, I'm very interested to hear about your next book, which is
Thank you.
coming out very soon, because we actually have a jail dogs program in Gwinnett County here in Georgia.
Mhm.
Um, I don't, I don't think it's specifically for raising dogs for veterans because these are shelter dogs that the inmates,
Hmm.
train up and so they can get adopted. But tell us about Second Chances and how that came about.
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, that's, you know, really really proud of Craig and Fred, I'm incredibly proud of kind of our next chapter. And you don't have second chances. Stands on its own. That was important to me. It's not necessarily a sequel to Craig and Fred. if you read Craig and Fred and have read read Second Chances, you'll have a greater appreciation for the overall journey that Fred and I have been on since we've been together. But it's it's not completely necessary. It stands on its own as a book, and it really just is kind of more of a testament to this amazing dog and how he's just kind of, I've just held the leash and he's led me into some incredible situations with even more incredible people.
Oh.
And it came about after doing a radio show here in Maine for our local public radio. The host offered to connect me to the warden of Maine State Prison, and she said a couple things about it. She said his name is Randy Liberty, which was like, whoa, that's he's an Iraq War veteran, and he's doing some incredible things up there at the prison. And I know he would love to meet you. And so I said, okay, yeah, connect us, whatever. And the cynical kind of, I lived in DC for a long time, and there's a lot of lip service paid around there, and a lot of empty promises. And so I was like, maybe I'll hear from her, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
And by the time I got home from that interview at the radio station, I already had an email from Randy. After the initial interview.
Oh, we got you frozen again.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so you got home and you got the email from Randy.
Yeah, I got an email from Randy, and the next week I went up there with Fred, and the prison book club had read the book, and Fred and I went up there and we spent a little time with the staff, talking to the staff and kind of telling the story of Fred to the staff. And then Randy took me back behind the wall, is kind of what they say, and to meet the men. And there's a whole cell block, they call it a pod. So they had a whole pod in Maine State Prison that's just for veterans.
Okay.
And he brought me back there with Fred, and I spent some time with the men of the book club and of the veterans pod. And I met a couple of the dogs that they had going through training there. And it was just an incredible day where I had to kind of like step back again and again and remind myself that I was in a prison, and like, because it didn't feel like it,
Yeah.
and I just felt so comfortable with these men and with Randy. And I left that day with just a real sense of duty, and a real kind of just a feeling in my gut that there was more there for us. And I immediately just followed up with Randy. I was like, I want to come back. I don't, I want to bug you, I just want to be around. And so I just, anytime we were off the road, we were doing a lot of traveling for speaking engagements and book stuff with Craig and Fred. And anytime I came home to Maine, the first thing I would do is shoot up to Maine State Prison and just spend time in the veterans pod with these guys.
Wow.
And it just goes from there.
It's a great story. Second chances are there's two second chances there, right? Second chance for the dogs and second chance for the guys,
Well, these dogs aren't these dogs being raised as from puppies for service dogs?
Yeah. So they actually do have a program in Maine State Prison, sounds like the one, like similar to the one they have in your town in Georgia, where they have shelter dogs that are essentially, they're kind of fostered by.
Yeah.
And kind of, they train them in basic leash obedience and stuff like that. But then specifically the America's Vet Dogs program, those dogs are purebred Labradors. They're like, just kind of really selective about the dogs that go into that role, because they just have to be so trainable and so kind of reliable. So I guess technically they're not technically getting a second chance. Like that's what they're born for.
Yeah.
Right.
But their impact and the what I saw the dogs as, when I started to write and when I started to spend my time there, I saw the dogs as this vessel and to really explore their impact and the positive impact of something in an otherwise pretty negative place.
Mm-hmm.
And I really was fascinated and interested to see that, to kind of track that ripple effect of good that would be going, via these dogs.
Yeah.
And I hope that comes through on the page.
Well, I love what you have on your website, which is we're always quick to give second chances to celebrities and politicians and all these people who screw up. And, I will admit I'm generally someone like, I don't want to go to a jail, like it scares me to think of, but you got me thinking, and, it was kind of running through my head, and I was like, we're all human beings. And, is there pure evil? Yes, there is. Is there mental health issues? Yes, there are. But then there's people that just make a mistake, and, who hasn't made a mistake? And, we are supposed to be forgiving, and, what are we, this could go into a whole long conversation about the prison system and the money making behind it and everything like that. But how wonderful that, these guys are getting this opportunity, and like in these other jail programs too. Like, I think we all know, anyone who loves and has dogs knows what an impact they can be on our lives. And I do think ours have made us better people. You can just imagine what that does for people who are isolated and kind of cast aside, as, well, you're a problem, so you're you're banished.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It's, and it is obviously a complicated issue, that you could write hundreds of books about and still not come away with, a real definitive solution. What I hope to kind of approach with second chances is something that we can all do, which is kind of shift our perspective, and that's exactly what you're talking about. It's just this idea of kind of changing the image we have of people in the system, and see them as redeemable, because the vast majority of them are, and they're screaming for it, and they're very, very worthy of it. Of course, there are people who are just, are so traumatized and are so, kind of demented that they are, will always kind of be a harm to themselves or others, but they are a fraction of the percentage of people in our system, and we're doing them and ourselves ultimately a disservice to cast them aside and just continue to put up, boundaries in front of them once they've done their time. I mean, the idea of prison is you go and you serve your time, that you're sentenced, and then you're supposed to kind of be done being punished. That's your punishment, and it's adequate. I mean, it's adequate. It's we don't really fully understand the mental kind of trauma and the challenges that you place on someone when you send them away, and that's enough to try to overcome afterwards. And so I think, what we can do as a society, if you can't really advocate and get involved, you can at least kind of change your perspective on how you see people who have done time, and because we're so quick to give, a second chance, to people that, we, are in our upper echelon of, society, whether it's politics or entertainment or sports, but when it comes to people who have actually served sentences, like for things that these people are getting, getting away with, essentially, we're so quick to cast them aside, and that's a real shame.
Yeah.
That's what I was, you said it better than I could, but that's what I was going to say. Some of these people, that are in, we'll say, the hierarchy of our society, they get away with stuff that they really should be in jail for.
Yeah, they never even get to the punishment phase.
I mean, you're from DC.
Yeah.
You get it. So yeah, you're right. In a little background about me is I work, I manage a construction division. A lot of those guys have been there, and nobody would give them a chance. But when you get to know them, they made that mistake. Maybe they were young when they did it, or they were desperate, or we don't know what the circumstances are, but
Both, yeah.
They do come out. A lot of them come out better for it. They're just looking for somebody to give them a chance, and I think kudos to that warden, because I think he gets it. He's like, these guys are going to be here. It's an opportunity to help them and then help others outside, and I think that's fantastic. And I can't wait to read the book.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited for it to get out there.
I didn't realize that there was enough of a veteran population to have a pod of like that to me was like, wow.
Yeah, in Maine of all places, you have a whole pod in Maine. Can you imagine, Missouri or Georgia or Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing I hope to just get out. Randy is a visionary, and he served as in Iraq. He served as an army infantry officer, and he served as uh, a sheriff's deputy, and then he was the sheriff of his county, and then the warden at Maine State Prison, and now he's the state commissioner for the whole state of corrections. So he's in charge of all the correctional facilities in the state of Maine now. And so, it's someone like that I'm really excited. He's like if you read Craig and Fred and you're familiar with Top, like Randy is kind of like Top, and I want to portray him and kind of get the work and the person that he is kind of out there into the world, because he's so busy. He doesn't have time to write about himself. He's just so busy doing incredible things that, this is somebody that I'm really, really excited to share with the world.
And that's nice to hear that he keeps moving up, because that's the kind of people we want in those positions.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, with your experiences, did Fred always go to the jail with you, or did just that first time?
He came as often as he could. So, that's something I've gotten used to, is anytime I show up anywhere without Fred, I hear about it, and people are always kind of disappointed. I mean, most of the time people don't even recognize me if I don't have Fred with me.
Wow.
And so, I would bring him, and it's always just more fun to have Fred around, and he loved going up there. But there were times where I wasn't able to bring him, because part of what I started to do was I would go in the mornings when they had their puppy training classes, and I would just kind of be a fly on the wall, and I would kind of monitor the progress of the puppies and the men, in their training kind of journey. And so I couldn't bring Fred to that, because he is not as disciplined as some of these dogs, and he would have made training a little challenging. So on the days when I was going up in the mornings for that program, I wouldn't bring him, but whenever I could, I did.
That's cool. That's cool. I think it's a real, just like a journey in and of itself to see what one dog can do for one person, and to see, I'm sure for you to see it happen to multiple people, and just, it's got to give those guys a confidence to be able to train these animals, and a purpose, that they know that these dogs are going to serve, another veteran. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's what I really grew to appreciate was the work. It is so much work, and it takes so much patience, and just a real immersive kind of work that you would not necessarily associate with the people in prison, and it's a really, it was an incredible thing for me to witness, and those dogs go on to impact the people that they receive, and all the people in that veteran's orbit, think about the family and the friends and the community that, is now going to get their veteran, back kind of, in terms of what they've been dealing with. They now have a tool to kind of re-enter their community in the form of a dog. It's an incredible thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think I think from what I was reading in Craig and Fred, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I got the impression that it really helped you guys have conversations with other people, which was, because people are maybe not going to come up to you in the bar in Texas if you don't have Fred with you, but then you've got this opening, and it's like, oh my gosh, what kind of dog is that? And, off you go.
You're absolutely right about that. And for me, it started kind of unassumingly, because Fred is just so unique and handsome, and I would be walking him around DC when we lived in DC, and people would it was like every block, somebody would be like, what kind of dog is that? And at first, for the first year or so, I would just make up a breed, and kind of get out of the conversation as quick as I could. But little by little, I started to open up and say, actually, I got him in Afghanistan. I found him in this village, and these are the people that I was there with, and these poor, a lot of times I feel like I was making people late for stuff, because they have a 30-second question and they're getting a 30-minute answer. but the more I kind of opened up and started to tell the story at people at the dog park that I saw every day, the more I realized, that they liked to hear it and I really liked to tell it, and that I remembered more when I told it again and again. And I started to appreciate my own experiences a little more. And it really kind of started to stir something in me that has led to what I'm doing now, which is an amazing thing.
Well, I still think it would be really cool. He talked about this on the book club. If they all, because you have, is it your wife or your girlfriend?
My fiance. Yeah.
Fiance. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And she has a dog. So I would love to see you guys take like a summer road trip. And I'm sure there is like a RV company that would sponsor you. So let's just throw it out into the universe. But to see you guys go visit the national parks, and I told him, I'm like, my marketing brain is going. I could see patches with Fred from all the national parks, but that would be a really cool like travel blog kind of a thing. So maybe somewhere in your future.
I'm thinking for book 3, I'm already my brain is already working overtime, and I'm thinking for book 3, we do actually have the RV kind of question has been taken care of, because um, I'm a big truck guy. I love my truck. This is my Land Cruiser from the book.
I was going to ask about that. I was going to, yeah.
It's an incredible piece of art that I can tell you about in a second. But I have a camper now in the back of my Toyota Tacoma that was, I got a big break on the price of it from a company called 4-Wheel Campers based out of California. And they're awesome.
Yeah.
We're equipped. We got the gear. We just need the rest of the things to fall into place. And I would love to do another book, kind of about, our travels and more of the people, really focus on engaging with people from all over the country, and try to really bring the country together, again, because it breaks my heart how divided we've become.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think one thing that, as we're talking and you're talking about encountering people on the street and everything, is that we all have more in common than we don't. And we're all just trying to get through life and, support our families and be happy, and speaking of being happy, that one is like, it's dinner time. So I'm sorry.
They have watches.
Yeah. Oh, they know. But yeah, that would be a beautiful story, because I think there's so many wonderful people in this world. And I think we're all more alike than we're made to believe sometimes.
Yeah. We're definitely it's a lot easier to remind people of our divisions, and that's kind of what's become the trend, is to instantly kind of assume the worst about your neighbor. And that is to me, that's not what America's all about, and we are an optimistic country. We are an innovative country. We are a progressive country, and we want to see each other succeed. And, I feel like we're ready to hear more of a uniting kind of tone, and those stories are out there, and Fred and I I think are the ones to bring them. So that's what we're hoping for the next thing. But I'm really proud of what we've done so far, and really excited for second chances to get out there.
And when does it come out?
April 13th.
April 13th.
April 13th.
So
can't wait.
We will be lining up to get it, and maybe you'll come to Georgia, or we'll cross paths. And
we'll be in Georgia in October.
Nice.
Oh, great.
It's a great time to be in Georgia.
Yeah. Don't come in July.
We were there last October too. We do a lot of speaking at colleges now, which is an incredible thing. That's where this piece of art came from. It's huge, and it's actually all wood carvings.
Wow.
Each
really?
piece this is a canvas, but each one of them is a carving done with a little, just a little kind of etcher.
Yeah.
A specific student that read the book and then did a piece.
That's fantastic.
Of how they were, an impression that was left with them by the book. And it's this big mosaic that they presented to us at a college in Florida last year. And it was when we moved into our new home, this is the first thing that went.
That is incredible. What college was it?
It was the Florida State College in Jacksonville.
Nice.
Well, please thank Fred for joining us. He looks so comfy. He just looks,
He loves this couch.
he's like, okay, I'll come back.
Yeah, right.
I'll make an appearance. He, you know, I can't recommend your book enough. It is, you don't have to like dogs. You just have to like good storytelling, and the fact that it's a true story, it's inspiring. What's your kind of catchphrase about being optimistic?
Yeah, I call it stubborn positivity.
That's it. Stubborn positivity.
I like that.
That encapsulates this book perfectly, because it would not have happened if you were not so stubbornly positive. So thank you so much for your time. And, we cannot wait for second chances. We know it's going to be just as enjoyable. And I think we'll learn a lot too.
Yeah.
So are you on any social media or anything you want to shout out to people?
Thanks for reminding me. I'm always awful at plugging that stuff. But yeah, Fred's Instagram is Fred the Afghan. Our Facebook is Fred the Afghan. Twitter, same thing, Fred the Afghan. And our website is fredtheafghan.com. We sell really awesome hats and t-shirts and dog harnesses, collars, and leashes, all kind of designed around Fred and our story. And we donate a portion every month. We select a different nonprofit or rescue or both to kind of donate to every month, that based off of what we sell from our store.
Right.
So
I think we like Craig and Fred even more now that we've met them over video.
Yeah.
Just such an interesting person with such a great objective for his life. You can really tell that he has a servant's heart and that he wants to do good in this world.
Yeah. I've said it before about people. You can tell when someone has the it factor. And I think Craig he has that in spades. I mean, just an incredible person, and the adventures he's been on and the way he's able to convey them to the reader.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
And his positivity, just so optimistic. So I do want to shout out a couple of things that were mentioned in the interview. So puppyrescuemission.org sounds like an amazing organization.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Craig was saying that organization does exist to help these animals all over the world, that people that they find in combat zones and stuff like that, so they don't have to go through all of the crazy stuff that Craig did. I read about them. I think I would love to do an interview with them because their mission is amazing. So puppyrescuemission.org. Make sure you guys check that out. So Second Chances, A Marine, His Dog, and Finding Redemption is out April 13th, 2021. You can actually
put that on your calendar, folks. You're going to want that.
Mark your calendars, but you can actually pre-order it now. So you can just do a quick search, go online and find out. But like Craig said, fredtheafghan.com, you can go there. You can buy some swag, t-shirts, all kinds of cool stuff, hats, and you can learn more about the book. But yeah, you can order it now. So that is super exciting. And I just want to say, if you've read this book, let us know in the comments. But also, if you haven't written a review, write a review of Craig and Fred. And of course, same with Second Chances when it comes out.
Exactly.
But, as an author, those reviews are like gold to us. And I know it would mean the world to Craig and Fred if you wrote a review, if you enjoyed Craig and Fred. And I do want to say that for the book club, you can actually join this virtual book club. So if you go to larissawall.com, that's LARISSAWOHL.com, anyone can join our virtual book club.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you just have to like animals and books.
Yeah, well, yeah, at least one of those things, I would assume.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, this was an incredible interview. I really enjoyed it. I always love hearing from our guys that served, and big thank you to all you out there. Thank you for your service, and what a great story. Pick the book up. You're not going to regret it. You're going to read it in one day. I can almost guarantee that.
Oh, and let's not forget, I know we mentioned it in the interview, but Craig and Fred has a kids version. So
Oh yeah, that's right.
make sure if if you've got a kid that maybe is a reluctant reader, because Craig was saying the feedback that he's gotten is even kids that don't like to read, like they get so engrossed in this book. So there is a kids version. So check that out as well. But yeah, we thank everybody who serves our country, and love that Craig is still continuing to do that and continues to make a difference. So we hope this inspires you. We hope that you can feel the passion and optimism coming from Craig and Fred. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, you do have to head over to our YouTube channel, because we can see a little bit of Fred. He was sleepy, but you can get some glimpses of his beauty.
Yeah. And as always, thank you for tuning in and watching. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate your comments.
Yes.
We look forward to them. We try to interact as much as possible. We ask you, if you don't mind, if you will hit that little subscribe button and the notification bell. We put these out bi-monthly, so that means 2 times a month.
Every other week.
Yep. And we really enjoy doing them, and hopefully you get something out of them, because we enjoy doing them.
We love doing it, and we love interacting with you. Thank you for the comments. You know, we have a lot of Patterdale fans out there who are commenting, which is super cool, and a lot of Rat Terrier fans. So it's interesting to see who gets the comments. And I mean, we just love hearing about your dogs, your experiences. And don't forget to hit that little thumbs up and like this video as well. As always, you guys can catch us online everywhere at Dog Nerd Show, dognerdshow.com, and drop us a line, dognerdshow@gmail.com, if you would like to talk to us about your breed, your rescue group, or anything dog related.
Well, until next time, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.